The Great American Identity Crisis. I once made the mistake of asking an American where they were from. A simple enough question, one would think. I expected an equally simple answer. New York? Texas? Maybe even something exotic like Oregon. Instead, I was subjected to a dramatic monologue about their ancestral journey through the ages. I'm Irish, English, and a bit of German, but my great-grandmother was full-blooded Cherokee, they declared, as though reciting the ingredients of a particularly complicated stew. Ah, I replied, nodding as though that explained anything. And where were you born? Michigan. Right. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand having an interest in one's heritage. But what baffles me about Americans is this strange compulsion to define themselves by places they've never set foot in, languages they can't speak, and cultures they wouldn't last a day in. Take the ones who proudly call themselves Irish American. Have they ever endured a week of solid rain in Galway? Can they hold their liquor without embarrassing themselves? Do they at least own a decent wool jumper? No, and certainly not. And yet, they'll prattle on about their Irish roots while their entire understanding of the country comes from Braveheart, which isn't even about Ireland. And then you have the African Americans. Now, Africa is a rather large place, 54 countries, last time I checked. Yet, for some reason, Americans tend to lump them all together as if Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa are interchangeable. I once asked an American of this persuasion if they knew where in Africa their ancestors came from. They frowned, as though I'd asked them to solve an advanced maths equation. Africa, they finally said, looking proud of themselves. Brilliant. I'm from Europe, then. Do I get to be European English? The most amusing, however, are the self-proclaimed British Americans. These are the ones who seem convinced that their English or Scottish great-great-grandfather has somehow imbued them with an innate understanding of all things Britannia. Yeah, I'm mostly British, they'll tell me with an utterly misplaced sense of pride. I drink tea all the time. Oh, well done. So does half the world. Love. The problem is, Americans aren't content with just being American. The rest of us? We know who we are. I'm English. The French are French. The Germans are terrifyingly German. But Americans have this peculiar need to attach themselves to somewhere else, as though being just American isn't enough. It's rather like a man at a party insisting he's part vampire because his great-uncle once visited Transylvania. Of course, when it suits them, they drop the whole act and become very much American, usually when there's a sporting event or a war. Then suddenly the Irish, German, and Italian roots vanish, and they're all stars and stripes, eagles, and Murica at full volume. It's truly fascinating to watch. I once asked an American if they ever considered just being American. Well, I am American, they admitted, almost sheepishly. But my ancestors, I held up a hand. Yes, they came from somewhere else, but you didn't. Silence, thoughtful frown, the first signs of an existential crisis forming. Well, I guess, they muttered, and for a brief, glorious moment, I thought I had won. Then they brightened. But my dad's side is Scottish, I gave up.